This past weekend saw a significant uptick in violence between Israel and Gaza-based militant groups after Israel carried out a targeted assassination to preempt an alleged attack in the Sinai border region between Israel and Egypt. This latest flare-up in violence comes at a time when the preeminent militant group of Gaza, Hamas, is currently in a serious state of flux over its future political trajectory. Judging by Hamas's actions so far, it appears that the group's leadership is going to be facing rising challenges to its clout in Gaza as its leadership attempts to adapt the organization to a shifting regional geopolitical climate. The latest spate of violence began on Friday, when Israel carried out a targeted assassination against the Secretary General of the Popular Resistance Committees. Israel claimed that the PRC leader was plotting an attack that was directed at Israel's southern border with Egypt in the Sinai Peninsula. The thwarted plot is exactly the kind of attack that Stratfor has been watching for. As we've pointed out in our forecasts, the fall of Mubarak and the political rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt has created a major opportunity for a number of players to try and create a crisis between Egypt and Israel that would undermine the 1979 peace treaty and undermine the Egyptian military's authority. What has been less clear to us is where Hamas falls in all of this. Hamas, which is an outgrowth of the Muslim Brotherhood, made a choice not too long ago to publicly distance itself from the Iran-Syria nexus and instead try to ride the coattails of the Muslim Brotherhood to political legitimacy. This has not been an easy transition for Hamas to make. Not only has Hamas's exile leadership had to relocate from their headquarters in Damascus and find new sources of funding, but the group has had severe internal disagreements over how far it should take its reconciliation efforts with its rivals in Fatah. Hamas also has to figure out how to manage its relationships with Arab states like Egypt and Jordan, who are opening their doors to Hamas but have every intent of keeping this group contained. And finally, after publicly breaking with Iran recently, Hamas has to now be on alert for Iran trying to ramp up groups like the Palestinian Islamic Jihad as a way to maintain a lever in Gaza and keep pressure on Hamas. The question that we continue to ask ourselves is whether Hamas, a militant organization presiding over a stateless political entity, will be able to make a more meaningful political transition and follow the path of the Muslim Brotherhood without splitting apart. Which brings us to this latest episode. A lot of smaller Palestinian groups, including the military wings of the Palestinian Resistance Committees, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PFLP-GC, and other more minor outfits, have claimed rocket attacks targeting Israel since Friday. Groups like the PRC, especially, have long been suspected of acting as front organizations for Hamas in times like this when Hamas wants to maintain plausible deniability. Hamas could theoretically benefit from periodic flare-ups and violence that allow the group to voice its demands to both Egypt and Israel in back-channel negotiations. For instance, Hamas needs to demonstrate that when violence breaks out like this, it still has the authority in Gaza to make it stop, in exchange for certain concessions. Hamas leader Mahmoud al-Zahar said Monday that Hamas has not decided to escalate matters, that he expects hostilities to calm down, and that Israel has expressed through Egyptian mediators that it wants a truce. Zahar's statements give the impression that Hamas is still in control of the situation. However, given all the pressures that we see rising on Hamas right now, and the number of shifts we see taking place in the region, we are in the process of seriously reevaluating the assumption that Hamas's grip over Gaza is as tight as the group would like it to appear.